All right, sir, come on up here. You're going to come right in front of my clerk, and she'll swear you in.
Can you please state and spell your first and last name?
Thomas Olszak, last name spelled O-L-S, as in Sam, Z as in zebra, E-K.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Welcome around the court reporter of the
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hello, my name is Tom Olszak. I'm a retired state trooper with the Arizona Department of Public Safety.
How long did you work for the Department of Public Safety?
24 years.
What are you currently doing?
I currently work for the United States Secret Service at the Phoenix office as a network intrusion forensic analyst.
What did you do when you worked for DPS?
My DPS career started in 1999 when I graduated from the academy. I was assigned to the Highway Patrol Division in the Phoenix metro area. My day-to-day activities were traffic enforcement, collision investigation, calls for service, DUI detection. And at 2010, I became a detective, worked for a warrant squad for 3 years where we would work with the adult probation, several other detectives, the federal warrant service that we would go out and serve warrants on individuals that were arrest warrants and arrest them and bring them in. In 2013, I was transferred to the Criminal Investigations Division at DPS, and I was assigned to the Digital Forensic Unit located at the ACTIC, Arizona Counterterrorism Information Center in Phoenix. And there my responsibilities were to assist other federal, state, local, and tribal agencies with service of search warrants and to identify possible digital evidence on scene, and if it had to be processed. If not, it would be submitted to the crime lab and then to the digital forensic unit, and I would perform forensic exams on those.
So in November of 2019, what were you doing? Were you still with DPS?
Yes,
And were you still working in the area of digital forensics?
I was.
Can you tell us what an infotainment system is?
Infotainment is a central digital system combining of entertainment and information.
Where do we find one of those?
We'd find that in a vehicle, more of the newer vehicles. It pretty much came out in 1986. So it's pretty much the console that's in between the driver's seat and the passenger side seat, and it has a display on it, and it's a high fidelity display that you can get navigation, you can get applications. You can also connect your cell phone to that via Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or USB cable.
Do all vehicles have infotainment systems?
Not all vehicles do.
Do all the infotainment systems contain the same level of data?
They do not.
When you are asked, let me ask this, are you asked at times to aid agencies to determine whether or not a vehicle might have an infotainment system with data that could be recovered?
I am.
In November of 2019, did the Gilbert Police Department reach out to you to talk to you about trying to remove an infotainment system from a 2018 Jeep Wrangler?
Yes, they did.
What kind of information do you ask for to be able to decide if you can obtain anything from that?
Well, we use a software made by a company called Burla. The software is called IVE, and with that software, it can detect, acquire, and analyze an infotainment system. Within that software, they have an application that you can scan either the VIN or enter the VIN into that application to see if that vehicle is supported through that Burla system.
So you need the VIN number for a vehicle, and does that tell you everything you need to know that you'll be able to obtain data from that?
No,
vehicle?
you need also the trim package.
What is a trim package?
Trim package is features on the vehicle that would make it more of a newer vehicle or a better vehicle. So you might have a trim package of XL, Sport, Touring, EX. So you have cloth seats, and you're going to have a trim package, same model of vehicle, but now you have a trim package with just cloth seats and one with leather seats and more upgrades.
So the better the car, the better the infotainment system?
Most likely.
Before, when you were advised of this 2018 Jeep Wrangler, were you able to determine with the VIN number whether or not the infotainment system would be able to be, I guess, accessed?
I was.
And what did you believe in terms of whether you could obtain data from that infotainment system based upon the VIN?
The VIN number, according to IV software, showed that it was supported.
Okay. Did you then go with Detective Ryan Pillar to Rexburg, Idaho on November 19th to look at a 2018 Jeep Wrangler with license plate LWD0997?
Yes.
When you went there and you saw that vehicle, were you able to determine if you were going to be able to use Burla to access that?
Yes, once I was able to get inside the vehicle, I looked at the head stack, and that's actually what we would call the infotainment system, the screen and the buttons, the knobs around it. That would be the head stack. With Burla Ivy, they have different head stacks for different model of vehicles, for the same model of vehicle. So I need to determine that view of that head stack, and I was unable to because I wasn't able to get into that vehicle before I traveled there.
All right, so sometimes before you travel there, you'll have someone send you a picture or be able to let you see what that looks like to see if you will be able to use Burla on it.
Yes.
In this case, you weren't able to have anyone get inside it until you went up there on the November 18th of 2019.
Correct.
So when you go there and you see that, did you realize there might be a problem?
Yes.
What did you?
I saw that head stack was not one of the ones that that was shown on the website,
Okay.
on the actual software.
Did you end up actually calling Burla to find out if you might still be able to access this?
I did.
And what did you determine?
Burla had told me that their customer support told me that that was a lower end model, that it wouldn't be supported, but I could possibly do a chip off to obtain some data.
And so when we're talking data, we're still looking at potentially call logs or connections to that infotainment system or potentially even GPS data.
Correct.
So did you decide to take that infotainment system out of the vehicle?
I did.
How do you do that?
Well, with the IV software, it's very intuitive. It gives you step by step on each vehicle how to take it apart. And I'm careful taking it apart because I might have to put it back together. If it's a victim's vehicle or a rental vehicle, that has to go back working order. So I take preventive steps. I take pictures on each step, and I remove that infotainment system, the unit behind that I need to take with me.
Is that basically just like a hard drive?
It is. It's actually a metal or a plastic box that's behind the screen that contains the printed circuit PC boards that would have all the data on there.
Okay, so you took that with you,
Yes,
brought it back here to Arizona,
correct.
and did you attempt to access it through that chip-off method?
I did.
Were you able to access any user data from that Jeep?
I was not.
On January 2nd of 2020, were you asked to meet with, again, another detective, this time McDermott, from Gilbert Police Department to remove an infotainment system from a Ford F-150 truck with Arizona plate CPQUINT?
I was.
Did you follow sort of the same process we've heard about?
I did.
And was that infotainment system supported for the Ford F-150 by Burla?
It was.
Were you able to obtain GPS data, connection data, and call logs from the Ford F-150 with that CPQUINT plate?
I was.
different infotainment systems, do they have smaller or larger memory chips?
They do?
And in this vehicle, was there a smaller memory chip?
Comparison, it was only an 8 gig memory chip.
And some of that memory is taken up from just data from Ford for the infotainment system?
Correct.
In terms of the data on this infotainment system, for the Ford F-150, did you locate any data relating back to October 2nd of 2019?
I did not.
Did you locate any data relating to any time in October of 2019?
I did not.
So you're looking at this vehicle in January, or pulled the infotainment system on January 2nd of 2020. Were you able to determine if any phones had connected to that Ford F-150?
I was.
Did you see data that a phone number 480-351-9120 had connected to the Ford's infotainment system?
I did.
Did you see data that a phone number 808-755-5452 had connected to the Ford's infotainment system?
I did.
Were there call logs in that Ford F-150 from November 7th through December 20th of 2019?
There was.
Did that infotainment system show calls made to 480-321-9876?
It did.
Did they show calls made to 208-690-9374?
It did.
And did they show calls made to 480-489-4652?
It did.
Did the Ford F-150 contain GPS coordinates?
It did.
Were those all related to the time period of December 3rd through the 31st of 2019?
I believe so.
Was there any GPS coordinates relating back to October of 2019?
There was not.
Thank you. I have no other questions for this witness.
Cross?
No questions, Your Honor.
Any jury questions? Not seeing any. Sir, you can step down.
Thank you.